Welcome to the Luke Macias Show. We are days away from sine die in the first special session. The Democrats have not returned. They are saying they might not return, or they may return, depending on what they're given by Republicans. The question remains, will Democrats truly be punished? Not only now, but also upon their return. We'll talk about that and several other things going on in Texas politics. Let's get to the show. On Friday, the expectation is that the Texas House will adjourn sine die. It will officially end the first special session. The Senate will have conducted its business. The House will have not because of the quorum break. Some Democrats attempted to break quorum in the Senate, but a number of senators stayed and did not engage in that kind of theatrical action. And so the Senate was still able to conduct its business. Ultimately, the governor has said that he will be calling back the legislature with all of the issues on the call immediately. So Saturday, they will begin a 30-day special session again. And when they do, the governor said he will put all of the items that were on the first special session call on the second, and we'll be looking at additional items. And we'll talk about what one of those additional items might be, because of the hard work being done by Texans for Vaccine Choice, Representative Joanne Schaffner, and Senator Bob Hall. But the point being that the governor has made it clear that he is not going to let the Democrats' theatrics lead to not only the failure to pass new congressional maps, but also the failure to pass all of this good Republican policy that he has put on the special session call: banning taxpayer-funded lobbying, protecting women's private spaces, further regulating the abortion pill, which is leading to the death of tens of thousands of unborn children on an annual basis in Texas. So all of these other items will also be put on the call, and he might also look to add other items as well. Now, there are two discussions going on in Texas politics right now. One is, to what extent can the Texas House of Representatives compel the return of members? And I'll read a little section from the Texas Constitution that I know Briscoe Cain has brought to the attention of many people several different times. And then the other question is going to be, if there are limitations on what can be done now, what can be done upon their return? Now, if I rewind back to 2021, what Dade Phelan tried to convince the Republicans of is that once the Democrats came back, we just had to pass the election integrity bill, which we now know was a very good bill to pass. And essentially, he said that is their punishment. Their punishment is that we get the election integrity bill. But that's not punishment. That's just Republicans legislating. Okay? If Democrats come back and they go, well, now that you're back, we're going to pass the bill that we were going to pass before you left. Okay, got it. Nothing additional happens. So if you're a Democrat and you went around and you got all these national media attention, you got on MSNBC, you got on CNN, you raised a couple $100,000. All of your, hardcore Democrat voters said, thanks for doing this. Your donors are happy. You come back, they pass the bill that they would have passed if you had never left. You've built a structure that is incentivizing them to leave again. That's what you're doing. Structure demands behavior. So when you build something in such a way and you say Democrats leave, they get all this attention, they raise this money, their national profile goes up, their donors love them, they come back, and then you just do what you were going to do before they left, then you're telling them go leave again and again and again. Let's do this every 2 years. Pick the issue y'all really don't like, that Governor Abbott supports, or the Lieutenant Governor supports, or the Speaker supports, the Republican caucus supports, the Texas GOP priority that you don't want to pass, and just leave. Get your national attention for a while, and then come back, and then we'll pass it. That's not punishment. That's just Republicans governing, which does unite us, by the way. When Republicans govern behind Republican policies, we actually treat Democrats like the enemy. It's an ideal way to conduct your legislature, and it unites Republicans. So I hope that we do continue to do that. But again, the question's going to be, what can you do to compel them? And then what can you do upon when they return? Now, Article 3, Section 10, I believe that's the correct source of the Constitution, says here's what it says. but a smaller number, which would be a number underneath a quorum. So let's say you don't have a quorum, but a smaller number may compel the attendance of absent members in such manner and under such penalties as each house may provide. Okay? The real question is, what all can they do to compel the return of members? An example would be, I've tweeted this out, several people have said this several times, these people were given vice chairmanships, and then they were given something that has never been given, which is a budget to be a vice chair. So they receive regular monthly amounts of money due to the fact that they are vice chair, which vice chairs have never gotten. So they all got vice chairmanships, and then they got money associated with those vice chairmanships. Now, the question is, can you take those away? Most people know you can take them away when they return. When there is a quorum present, the legislature can vote to take action on different issues. The speaker could take action. The legislature could take action. There'd be various ways of doing that. The question is, can you do it now while a quorum is not present? I mean, some have theorized that maybe you could do it in a way that would only apply to the time in which they're absent. So you could say, you're no longer a vice chair. You don't have your budget. And you don't have it until you come back. And when you do come back, you're a vice chair again, and you have your vice chair budget. But then the legislature could, at that point with a quorum, vote to permanently remove that vice chairman budget. Now, the vice chair budgets were never actually voted on. That's the other interesting little wrinkle here. There was never a vote on whether vice chairs should receive budgets. So does there have to be a vote to eliminate them? The Texas House Administration Committee actually gave the authority to Charlie Geren. They built out budgets. We have yet to confirm if the committee itself even voted ever to give these budgets to vice chairs. Now, some people have told me they think they did at some point. I don't know if they have. Honestly, it hasn't been confirmed. One of two things happened. Either House administration gave the authority to Charlie Geren and then he gave the vice chairs their budgets, or the House Administration Committee voted on the budget themselves, which means the House Administration can vote to take that budget away. And the members on House Administration are Charlie Geren is the chair, Cheryl Cole is the vice chair. Cheryl Cole is currently breaking quorum, by the way. She's getting paid to be the vice chair of the committee that gave vice chairs budgets, and she's breaking quorum. Then you have Angie Chen Button, Drew Darby, Sam Harless, Ken King, Morgan Meyer. Those are the Democrats on House Administration. You're seen as very much close to leadership if you are voting that way. If you're assigned to the House Administration Committee, 100% of these committee assignments come from the Speaker. And then I'll explain how some of the committees have seniority and how that could also play into the punishment. The Democrats are Armando Martinez, who hasn't broken quorum, Joe Moody, who hasn't broken quorum, as you can see, closer to leadership, and then Ron Reynolds and James Tallarico, who have broken quorum. So either the House Administration Committee can take this up, the legislature can take it up. There might be a way for the legislature to temporarily pause these positions and budgets until they return, and then when they do return, they can vote to permanently do it. So what should we do to compel their return? Is the first question. And then what should we do when they actually come back? And that's the bigger question, which we'll get to in a second. The Texas Supreme Court is trying to drag its feet. The governor and our attorney general have both told the Supreme Court, we would like you to declare these seats vacant. We have legislators who are refusing to show up to work. And instead of the Supreme Court putting a very quick timeline on this, they have created some deadlines where they're saying, okay, y'all can get briefs to us by the 17th or the 19th, and then the reply briefs are due here, and then the final briefs are here, and then we'll make a decision. But they're basically asserting that they might not make a decision until early or mid-September. If they were to do, I think, what they should do, which is just declare these seats vacant, then the rest of the Democrats would return overnight. So you should continue to put pressure on the Texas Supreme Court. There's a reason they're elected and not appointed. It's because we actually want them to do the will of the voters by enacting justice and recognizing that our vacancy declaration that is in the Constitution is there for a reason. Before we get to other punishments that Democrats could have, I want to let y'all know that Attorney General Ken Paxton put out a press release. Attorney General Ken Paxton sues Big Pharma drug manufacturer Eli Lilly for bribing providers to prescribe its medications. I want to read this so that y'all understand not only what's happening, but then the implications legislatively from this last session. Attorney General Paxton sued pharmaceutical giant Eli Lilly for bribing and illegally inducing medical providers to prescribe its most profitable drugs, including the high-demand GLP-1. President Trump calls this the fat shot. Medications, Mounjaro and Zepbound, that are used for weight loss and diabetes treatment. In order to enhance profits, Eli Lilly offered illegal incentives and medical providers in Texas, including, quote, free nurses and reimbursement support services. These inducements were designed to steer providers towards prescribing Eli Lilly's drugs. In many cases, these prescriptions were covered by Medicaid, resulting in millions of dollars in claims to Texas Medicaid that were tainted by Eli Lilly's illegal marketing and quid pro quo arrangements in violation of the Texas Healthcare Program Fraud Prevention Act. And then the quote here, General Paxton said, Big Pharma compromised medical decision-making by engaging in an illegal kickback scheme. Eli Lilly fraudulently sought to maximize profits at taxpayer expense and put corporate greed over people's health. I will not stand by while corporations unlawfully manipulate our healthcare system to line their own pockets. Now, what I want to remind you is that in this last legislative session, Texans for Lawsuit Reform pushed a massive bill, and this massive bill was going to completely redo how we assess both economic and non-economic damages. And one of the things that several conservative organizations expressed concern over was the fact that Big Pharma was brought up into this bill. And one of the things that conservatives tried to start to draw the line on is say, hey, if there are certain abusive lawsuits out there, we want to look at where the abuse is happening, and then we want to hone in and focus on that and try to pass laws that focus on the problem. But passing something that protects the mom and pop small business to the same extent that it protects Big Pharma, abortion pill manufacturers, sex change surgery doctors is just strange. This stalled the legislation pretty considerably. And ultimately what Texans for Lawsuit Reform did is instead of actually saying the bill doesn't apply to Big Pharma, the bill doesn't apply to doctors that do sex change surgeries, they just scrapped that entire portion of the bill. Because there is a general kind of rule that they seem to operate with over there, which is just when you're going to pass it, it has to equally apply to everyone and with much of their policy that they push. And some of it might be because Big Pharma is actually in bed with and supportive of Texans for Lawsuit Reform. So you can't get money from pharmaceutical companies and then turn around and carve them out of your bills. Nobody knows that because the corporate sponsorships to Texans for Lawsuit Reform are not all publicly displayed. But we know that a lot of these corporations are involved with Texans for Lawsuit Reform. If you're wondering why would a group like TLR spend $10 million against Ken Paxton for his last re-election campaign, it's because of lawsuits like this. And this is getting into the Attorney General's race for y'all to be aware of. There are groups of donors out there that would like the Attorney General's office to just stop suing companies, bad actors. General Paxton got a $2 billion settlement from Google. TLR attacked him for hiring outside counsel for that. And then, of course, everybody, when he wins $2 billion, says that's a great lawsuit. The question is, will the next Attorney General's administration actually do that? Currently, we have 3 people running for Attorney General: Aaron Reitz, Mays Middleton, Joan Huffman. I think all of them should be asked these questions. There has been a lot of speculation over the last several days that Chip Roy is likely to enter into the Attorney General's race. And I wouldn't be surprised if by the time I come back to you next week, something is finalized on that end. And so if it is, I will, of course, let y'all know. That is going to shake up the Attorney General's race considerably, since Chip Roy probably has more name ID currently than Mays Middleton, Aaron Rice, and Joan Huffman combined. And so he would definitely be in a leading position if he does jump in. But again, I think that grassroots conservatives right now should be asking all of the candidates running for Attorney General very important questions. This is just one of those questions.
Are you worried about your kid's future? You should be. I'm Charles Blaine with Texas Tomorrow. This is a show where we're going to talk about the issues and the people that are pushing the policies that concern your family, your home, and your kids. Catch Texas Tomorrow every Thursday.
Okay, so let's get back to punishing the Democrats. Now, one of the ways that the governor can punish the Democrats is that he can add more items to the call. More Republican policy. So not only are we going to pass the Republican policy that we had, we are going to pass more Republican policy. And Governor Abbott has insinuated in multiple public settings that he is currently carefully evaluating more policies to push to accomplish even more for the Republican cause. If that happens, not only should we applaud Governor Abbott, but we should also just be even more grateful that the Democrats decided to leave. One of those bills is HB 84 and Senate Bill 69, Senate Bill 69 by Bob Hall, and HB 84 by Joanne Schaffner. This is a bill that is going to allow for ivermectin to be purchased over the counter. It is a great policy, and it died on the last day that bills could pass because the Calendars Committee decided to place it very far down the calendar. We had to get through a lot of Democrat bills to get to this bill, which gave Democrats the ability to stall and kill this bill. This bill has passed committees in the House and the Senate. And excitingly, Texans for Vaccine Choice announced yesterday that HB 84 by Joanne Schaffner has now surpassed 75 co-authors. So a majority of the legislature has co-authored the bill, and Senate Bill 69 by Bob Hall, I believe, as of today, has gotten a majority of the Texas Senate to sign on to it. So this shows that it has the votes. If it's put on the call, it will fly through the process. Huge, absolutely huge opportunity, and really exciting just to see that other additional policy potentially in a great position to pass during the special session. Now, Texans for Vaccine Choice is working really, really hard in the legislature, which is great. One of the things that Brandon Waltons at Texas Scorecard revealed is there is another group that does work on this issue. It's Texans for Medical Freedom. And I just have to bring this up because it really was pretty upsetting when it came out. But Texans for Medical Freedom decided at their annual gala this year, this is their second year having this gala that they have hosted regularly, right? It'll be regular after this year. And so they're hosting this gala. They will have 300 to 400 people in attendance at this gala, and the people will participate in a straw poll of these people running. So, people running for comptroller, people running for attorney general. You can vote for U.S. Senate. And then at the gala, they're going to announce the winners of the straw poll. They will say, hey, the winner of the straw poll is Ken Paxton or John Cornyn. The winner of the straw poll is Aaron Rice or Mays Middleton or Chip Roy or Joan Huffman, a comptroller, etc. And so that was fine. But the more disturbing thing is that they then sent an email to a bunch of the candidates running for those positions. And this has since been released and reported on by Brandon Waltons. But they sent an email out which told the candidates running for these positions that they could, with their sponsorship, purchase votes for the straw poll. I know this is kind of an insidery thing, but a lot of you are very active in GOP politics. And so what y'all know is if somebody put out there, hey, there was a big straw poll taken and I won the straw poll, it kind of gives this sense of like momentum. This is a statewide grassroots organization. They had a straw poll of people in attendance and I won. But this is what they're offering to the candidates running for those positions in the straw poll. If you give this group $5,000, you can cast 100 votes. I would assume you'd cast those votes for yourself in the straw poll. If you give them $10,000, you can get 250 votes. If you give them 25,000, you can get 850 votes in the straw poll. Now, I want you to just think about this for a second. There's 300 to 400 people in attendance at this gala. So basically, hey, write me a $25,000 check and I'll tell everybody you won the straw poll. What? You won the straw poll because you voted 850 times. This is not the only group that will do this cycle. One reason I'm talking about this is that you need to know that during competitive statewide elections, there are a ton of people who start setting up different entities and organizations to essentially try to grift off of all the campaigns that are running. And this is just one example. It's very unfortunate. I'm glad that I saw a lot of grassroots commentary on this when it came out, just being like, this is crazy. So I wish our grassroots conservative groups would spend more time in the Capitol focusing on policy, and that would just get the ball moving down the field in a more important way. And so HB 84 and Senate Bill 69 by Senator Bob Hall and Joanne Schaffner, and being pushed and advocated for by Texans for Vaccine Choice, is in a great position to potentially be added to the call. If it is, it's just one more reminder of why you should be grateful that these entities and organizations, some of them are in there working really, really hard for you, for the things you believe in. Now let's talk about punishment, additional punishments to members of the legislature. So when they come back, I think there will be a number of things being discussed. One of them will be the budgets, which we already kind of overviewed. One of them will be their positions as vice chair. And the other is going to be seniority. Now, seniority is probably not something that the average Texas Republican fully understands and really understands the significance of. So I'm just going to try to take a few minutes to explain to you why seniority would matter and a couple different ways that that punishment could be enacted. So the legislature ranks, and this is just something the legislature overviews. It's not in state law. It's not in the Constitution. It's just the way the legislature operates. It's in its rules and its procedures. They make some decisions by seniority. And committees, many committees in the Texas House of Representatives will actually have a number of their members, a minority, but a number of their members are picked by seniority. So if a committee has 11 members per se, then 6 of those members will be selected by the Speaker of the Texas House, meaning he will select a number of members that will constitute a majority of that committee. But 5 of the 11 members on energy resources or on public health will be selected by seniority, meaning they, with their seniority, can say, I want that committee. And the 4 or 5 most senior members that ask for the committee get it. Now, this protects individual members who might even disagree with the speaker, right? John Smithy ran against the speaker for speaker himself, but yet he was on State Affairs, the most powerful committee in the legislature. And the reason he was is because he is currently ranked as, the 4th most senior member in the legislature. So John Smithy from Amarillo is the 4th most senior member in the legislature. The only 3 more senior than him are Tom Craddock, Sinfronia Thompson, and Harold Dutton. Sinfronia Thompson and Harold Dutton are both breaking quorum right now, by the way. So John Smithy will be on the most impactful committee as long as he wants to be. Richard Raymond is the 6th most senior member. He gave a speech against Dustin Burrows, and he is on State Affairs. That's because of the level of seniority he has. Now, it really matters as you go down, because if you're in the top 10, here's the truth. Of these 10 members that are in the top 10, many of them are not in the same class. Sometimes it's like, oh, Charlie Guerin or Richard Raymond came in together. Okay, Yvonne Davis was with them, but John Smithy was ahead of them. So there's 2 or 3 members that might be in the same class. But as we go down in seniority, it matters even more. So Jeff Berry is the most senior of the freshman class. Technically, Pat Curry is, but Pat Curry won by a special election, so he's the most senior member because he's there longer. So when the freshman class came in, Jeff Berry was the most senior member. He is 121 of 150 in seniority. And Joanne Schaffner is at the bottom. she's at 150. So within the freshman class, you have Jeff Berry at 121 and Joanne Schaffner at 150. Each cycle, typically anywhere from 10 to 20 members might turn over. Some because of retirements, some because they lose in a general election. It switches from R to D or D to R. Some might lose their primaries. So if you look at all that, just historically 10 to 15 spots, which means that Joanne Schaffner should go from 150, because she will not pick just so y'all know how this works. The freshman class goes in to freshman orientation, okay? This is literally whatever that number is, 21, so almost 30 people, 29 people go in. It's a big freshman class. They go into a room, and there is a bowl of ping pong balls numbered 1 to 29. And they walk up and they pick a ping pong ball. Okay? That's what they do. And they look and he goes, oh, I got 5. And the other person gets 29. Now you might ask, what does it matter? He has 5, she has 29. What does that matter? Here's where it matters. Then what happens is there are 29 empty offices. There are 29 parking spots. There are 29 seats on the House floor. And there are committee assignments. And you get to pick based on your seniority. So they first asked Jeff Berry, what office would you like? He gets to pick the first office of the 29, which means he's going to get the largest office with the most room located in the most ideal spot. If you want to park at a certain place, he gets that. He's going to have a couple committees that he can qualify for automatically as a freshman regardless, right? So if you go in, I will just give you kind of examples of this. If he wanted to be on the county affairs committee, because he's in a rural area, has a background in county government, the seniority needed to get on that committee last session was 126. He would already be in a position to get a place on county affairs if he wanted to. Joanne Schaffner, even if she wanted to get on county affairs, she's at the will of the speaker. She couldn't use her seniority. She's at 150. She basically can't get on any committee with her seniority. And so this gives an advantage to certain members over others. And then what happens is when these 15 spots open up, they will go down the list, and Jeff Berry again next session will have an opportunity to move up to a nicer office before Joanne Schaffner does. Okay? So just over time, you get certain perks of the building, but the most impactful thing is that there ends up being committees you can get on, period. Appropriations, right? Is the budget writing committee. It's a good committee to get on. The seniority needed is 79. Jeff Berry in his current position will likely be there in the next potentially 2 cycles. He'll be in a place where he could be on appropriations automatically based on his request. Okay, so how would docking seniority work? There's a couple ways. Some people have said that maybe you dock a year for every day they're gone, or 2 years for the period of time they're gone. You can say you're gone 7 days and you're all going to be docked 2 years in seniority or 1 year in seniority. I've even heard it discussed where people have said, what would happen if you just docked them for the seniority of their inexcused absences? And I'm going to explain to you what that would mean. So you could say you've been gone for 7 days or 10 days. You are 10 days less senior as a result, which would move you to the bottom of your class. So the second most senior member of this entire freshman class is Cassandra Hernandez. She pulled the number 2, right? So she got a nicer office. She can automatically qualify for a number of committees that she wants to get on. You start going down and you have Linda Garcia at 132. You have Lauren Simmons at 138, Vince Perez at 139, Charlene Johnson at 140. All of these people have broken quorum. They all have more seniority than Paul Dyson, Mike Alcott, Matt Morgan, Helen Kerwin, Hillary Hickland, Joanne Schaffner. So the question is, should they still have that seniority? If you reduced them just for the days that they're gone, they would all move to the bottom of their class, which would have real life implications to them. There are committees that they would have been able to qualify for next session. that the only way they're going to get is at the request of the speaker and his granting of them that committee. There are offices that they would otherwise qualify for. All of these people are in line so that this next office, maybe they'll get into the basement sooner, or they'll get into the Capitol building sooner, or they'll get a bigger office because they're a little cramped right now. But the truth is now Joanne Schaffner and Hillary Hickland and Matt Morgan and Daniel Alders will all pick before any of them, which they should because they show up to work. And you know what? Those members will all be in a better position to use their seniority to get on better committees, which they should because they show up to work. There could be real consequences. And I believe that if Democrats receive consequences like this, then it might actually mean that in the future, they don't leave. The other thing that would fix this is if the Supreme Court would just man up and say that these members that have left and declared that they have no intention of coming back have vacated their seats. If that happens and the court is willing to do it, we will fix this problem entirely. And we should. I'll let y'all know what's happening next week. We'll be in another special session. We'll have discussions about what is being done to compel them, what could be done to punish them, and what can hopefully set us up to be structurally more sound so that Republicans can keep advancing Republican policies in Texas. May God bless you, and may God bless the great state of Texas.
Texas Scorecard is the place to learn about Texas politics. Be sure to click the bell, like this video, and subscribe if you believe in citizen-driven journalism. You can also go to texasscorecard.com to read all things about Texas. Texas Scorecard, real news for real Texans.